Welcome back. As we earlier said, we are going to be talking about or taking a very comprehensive look over Egypt's efforts to become a hub for budding companies and entrepreneurs. And of course, as Egypt is accelerating all its efforts to create the new republic, this is becoming very normal as Egypt is hosting foreign investment and promoting for industries and agricultural industries and all of its kinds and sources. Today we're going to be discussing this particular topic of Egypt encouraging the budding companies and the growing entrepreneurs. We're very delighted to be having here with us live in the studio Dr. Sahar Nazmy. She's a professor of economics. Good morning, Dr. Nazmy.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
How do you assess the efforts or the Egyptian efforts trying to encourage the budding business and the emerging or the growing entrepreneurs?
I see it's a very encouraging and very positive for the Egyptian government to be supporting entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, this will add value to the growth of the economy of Egypt, which is an essential part in the UN agenda of 2030. Economic growth is a vital goal within the globe for all nations to promote their economic growth, and looking into entrepreneurs with their innovative ideas for businesses will definitely add value to the whole circle of economy of developing Egypt.
The steps that are taken by the government and by the Egyptian administration are very comprehensive, and also they are very keen on creating out of Egypt as a hub and a mecca for all these efforts to be located at one particular place, and is encouraging for that by building the new republic also and the new administrative capital. If you like to elaborate.
I have to stress the point that the efforts are multiple, a lot of initiatives and a lot of efforts, but on the ground actions are still taking a very slow pace. First of all, registration of a company, of an entrepreneur, was very difficult until the president himself issued a decree a couple of days ago about facilitating registration of new businesses and ideas, especially startups and entrepreneurs. Access to finance, banks are still very reluctant, very slow, and I would say doubting the capability and the capacity of entrepreneurs to build an activity, an economic activity. So when the entrepreneur is in need of scaling up the ideas and their projects and making it more of a lucrative business, they would resort to financial institutions like banks, looking for financial support. I can see banks are in a very shaky position. They're not sure, they don't say no, and they don't do a yes. So we need more efforts here with the banking system to facilitate financing to those entrepreneurs, especially at the stage of scaling up.
Right, and of course the Egyptian administration have been working on that tooth and nail even earlier before the period that we're talking about, earlier before, like 2 years before, when the idea of the one-stop shop was also recommended by the president to facilitate the procedures, but also yesterday's decree would add to the importance. Talk to us, how important is facilitating those procedures and also eliminating the bureaucracy, because the country is full of treasures and there are very, very, very fertile opportunities. But bureaucracy can kill everything.
Yes, sure. Bureaucracy means a waste of time, and time means money.
And that's why President Abdel Fattah Sisi have been trying to fight this.
Exactly, and accelerating all the process, all the procedures. However, the people on the ground, the people handling the process, are still in need of training, improving their skills, getting more into the mood of accelerating things to happen. Instead of taking 3 months to issue a company, it shouldn't take more than 48 hours, like in Dubai, for example. If I'm an overseas investor in UAE, I would go for finalizing all the processes, all the paper, documentation, signatures, approvals in 48 hours. And I have the office, communication, and ready to go. The situation with the bureaucracy here is killing calibers, ambitions, and killing our objectives to accelerate the growth of our economy. The pandemic problem has impacted negatively across the globe.
Of course.
The economy. Now it's time to do all the procedures to recover. We need to recover with a sustainable development agenda and mind. One of the main obstacles is bureaucracy in Egypt. And it's really killing all the ambitions of our entrepreneurs. The involvement of President Sisi is helping to push things, but I don't see it. It should happen on the long run, that the president has to get involved himself, issue the right decisions and have the right decisions to get things straightened out and get done. I mean, we have a very respectable administration office behind the president. They should take those initiatives on board, address them, and solve them.
But of course, things have become way much better. All these, the bureaucracy is something, it's becoming history now in Egypt. Only a few reservations should be taken so that we can reach to a limit or a level where we can stand up.
Yes.
To fulfill our dreams. Talk to us also about the characteristics, do you think, that would be required for any country to attract foreign investment, to create an environment full of growing entrepreneurs and budding companies and business environment, a healthy business environment. These characteristics are, most of it are, I mean, it is provided in Egypt. We can say that it is provided. But talk to us about it from your own point of view.
We're talking two different things now. We're talking international investment and how we can pave the way and make Egypt an interesting area for attracting investment into Egypt. And we're talking entrepreneurs and startups. Now the country is really in need nowadays for large companies, international investors, to come over to Egypt and invest in Egypt. Again, I will touch on the law of investment in Egypt. We need to facilitate all the procedures, the process, the decrees, benefits, give more benefits to investors, make it more interesting. I can recall a bid among Morocco and Egypt for investment. Like a couple of years ago, the people were looking at Morocco as a hub for them, manufacturing hub for Africa, and looking into Egypt as well as the manufacturing point for distribution of their products in Africa and the Middle East. And Morocco won the bids. On another case, Turkey and Egypt, again, the bid was there and the differentiation was there, and Turkey won the bids. Now, let's look into those countries. What do they do? What do they offer? I'm not asking for anybody to invent the wheel. All I'm asking for is try to look into their agenda, into their investment givings and their investment law and copy them. There is no
Or copy
shame.
the successful experience that would
Exactly.
cope with the case of Egypt.
Absolutely. On the other hand, entrepreneurs, they are small scale sized businesses. However, they are still important and essential for the economic cycle, for the economic growth and development. Those needs to be looked at differently. And as I mentioned before, financing, giving them management skills, marketing skills, looking into their vision and their mission, educating them, supporting them. This will help a lot of entrepreneurs and startups to scale up their business in no time and deliver value to the overall economy of Egypt.
Right. What about sustainability? Why is it a must to revise the global efforts exerted to achieve the sustainable development and to boost the joint action between the concerned parties?
I think I have provided the program with the Sustainable Agenda for the UN 2030. It has 17 goals, the UN agenda. And the 17 goals were interpreted into 43 milestones. They look at gender equality. They look into women empowerment, economic growth, green environment, healthy communities, a good health for the population, good food and nutrition overall, quality education. That's like
Quality
goals.
education.
Quality education.
Not just education,
Not
but
just
quality.
Quality education.
And free, of course.
Exactly. Infrastructure. That's why President Sisi was looking at
We have achieved
building. We have
this
achieved
goal.
it, and the IFC and the UN were extremely satisfied with all the projects that were done on the infrastructure side. They look into saving energy. Multiple of goals, 17 goals. If you can have the map of the agenda of the UN, it will be very nice. That's why the UN is putting effort to deliver a good life for this generation, maximize the usage of the natural weather. They are looking into weather, how
Climate
to improve
change, of course.
exactly. What for all this effort for giving us a satisfactory life, and as well as making sure that the next generation will not be hurt or deprived from all the natural resources we have. However, they will enjoy it as well. The UN is looking into the current generation, how to live satisfied and happy, as well as the future generation, how to become
To
more
create some kind of balance.
a balance. Exactly. It's not only that we make you happy, this generation, and we forget about the future. They have a very structured vision, and their mission is really deliver the best conditions for living. They looked into consumption as well. One of the goals is good consumption and good production as well, which entails recycling, the wastage, how to reduce the amount of waste around industrial cities. Different aspects are covered in the UN, and most of the international countries are into the agenda. They approve it, they put time, they put finance, and they put efforts, even to the underdeveloped countries like Egypt. They would finance them to achieve the UN agenda.
And a quick assessment on that is that how, I mean, if Egypt would be easily, comfortably fitting into that pattern
Yes.
of the UN
Yeah.
17 goals.
We have to be there. We don't have a choice. First, the goals are all human and functional. and it's for the goodness of the generation, for the industry, for the health, quality of education. We cannot deny, we cannot close the eyes and say we're not in. We can't afford to be outside this circle or this agenda of the UN. Especially the international financing cooperation is willing to finance countries
To
that
empower
are in
those
need,
countries.
to empower their execution, implementation of the UN agenda.
No, what I was trying to say is that Egypt are amongst the countries who would have the characteristics to fit in easily in that
Yes.
model. Because President Abdel Fattah Sisi, ever since he stepped into office, have been repeating and focusing over sustainable developments and even fighting climate change and gender equality. And all those goals, he has been, ever since he assumed the chairmanship of the African Union.
Yes.
And that's why. So how important do you think, Doctor, to spread the policies of digital transformation? Because without digital transformation, none of that could be easily achieved. What do you say?
It has become part of our life today, digital transformation. We work from home because of the digitalized work aspects today. You don't have to go to work every day from 9 to 5. You can fulfill all what you need through the internet today. Without digitalization, we die. Any economy has to resort to digitalizing transformation. It's a must. It has become part of our life. We cannot deny this. Being important or non-important, of course it is important, it is essential, and without it we cannot expand, we cannot develop, we cannot grow, we cannot even get exposed to the international markets, we cannot see what's happening around the world. But thanks to the internet and to the digital transformation implemented in Egypt and across the world, that we have become literally a village. That's why what happens in Russia with Ukraine is impacting everybody across the board.
That's true.
Because we are becoming very much connected and close. So the impact of any increasing the interest rate, the Federal American Bank increased the interest rate on dollars, this will impact cost of full sandwich in Egypt, in Cairo. You see how far we are from the United States, but the decision here will impact our daily life.
Speaking about working from home and digitalizing some institutions entirely, like the e-banking, the education from distance and other facets and fronts in life, where do you think digital transformation, if it is introduced to some institutions, could change its face entirely, its map? Like, for example, we could do the digital tourism, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, because of the conditions of the pandemic and the political crisis and economic crisis worldwide, tourism could be affected, for example, in some countries, including Egypt.
Yes.
So introducing digital transformation, if introduced to that particular field, could change the situation entirely. What other fields that we could introduce digital transformation and effect some change?
Digital transformation, none of any activity, industry, sector, segment can live without having digital transformation. You look into a manufacturing company, they do manufacturing, they do sales, and they gain money and they get cash. Without the digital transformation, you can see piles of papers recording attendance of the employees, purchasing raw material,
The good old-fashioned way.
exactly, production cycles, who was in, who was out.
Complete waste of time. And
It's a waste of time, paper resources.
consumption of papers.
Consumption of paper. It's a hassle as well. It's a hassle. And tracking, it would take you hours and hours and maybe days to track any mistake or any default in the production cycle, in the purchasing cycle, within
Right.
the sales and distribution cycle. Now, in a minute, you can now pinpoint where is the defect, deficiency, where it comes from, who is in charge, and you can take corrective action on the spot.
Thanks to digitalization. Of course,
Yes.
Dr. Sahar Nazmy, you're a professor of economics. Would like to thank you so much for coming to the
Thank you,
breakfast show.
Tina. Always a pleasure.
Our pleasure. And you have a beautiful day. And we're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the breakfast show. So stay with us.